and dismantling agencies, depriving the American people of the programs and services which Congress has created, authorized, and appropriated funds for.
And Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut joins us right now at the table.
Congresswoman,
to be with you. Great to be with you guys.
Explain to me exactly how you think it is that Russell Vought is breaking the law.
Oh, listen, very, very simply. First of all, let me just say this. Elon Musk knew nothing about impoundment or about the appropriations process. And I categorize impoundment as stealing. They are stealing these funds. And the president knows even less about those two issues. So Russell Vought is at the center of this. He is, in fact, the puppet master. And he has been behind the scenes, and I was happy to have him there today so that we could start to drill down. And the very fact is that, look, it's in the Constitution. The Constitution, in Article 1, Section 9, Clause 7 says that the power of the purse resides in the Congress. And there is no inherent authority that he has, the president had, or Musk had in doing this. So it's all in violation of the law. And that's a point, to be very honest with you, is not being made at all, really. You know, we're going to fight this out in the courts. But the fact is that we should not be having a debate. They have no business cutting these funds. We shouldn't be, obviously, the serious consequences that it has, but underlying that, they have no legitimate authority. The courts have bore us out. I said today in the hearing, Supreme Court Justice Scalia, no liberal torchbearer, opined on this issue and said no. In the past, William Rehnquist has. Alexander Hamilton, I quoted today, the founders of the country, Kavanaugh, and so forth. They do not have this power. And that's what we have to really debunk and show it for what it is in terms of where they're going, what they're trying to do to the American people.
You know, I think this is different than the conversation about tariffs in a way, because on some level, the Republicans in Congress have abdicated some of their duty. They gave the president some power on tariffs, right? Now, there is a question about if some of these things fall under the purview of that power. But Congress did. Congress is supposed to also set tariffs, but they gave some of that power to the president. Right. You all did not give any power to the president to impound the funds?
We did not, but what was really incredible, which is why I think all Democrats except one last December in the continuing resolution, we said no to the continuing resolution because that gives power to the executive to be able to move money around. And just a historic point, because Vought will say that there's a 200-year history of presidents impounding. I went back. I got the documents back to 1789. There hasn't been an incident where if a president decided to get funds delayed or to impound the funds, that has been either the delay or the refusal to do what they wanted to do came from the Congress.
Can I just have one follow-up? The CR, the continuing resolution, the one that House Democrats didn't vote for, but Chuck Schumer said he wasn't voting for it, then turned around and gave the votes to help pass it. That gave some authority for the administration to do what they're doing now?
It turned over the ability of the Congress to hold on to the power of the person. I've said I'm the ranking member on appropriations. I've been the chair. Under no circumstances, I don't care if any president, I'm not willing to give this power to, President Obama, President Clinton, anyone, and certainly not Donald Trump or George Bush or any. It is fundamentally our jurisdiction. Understanding in appropriations, when those bills are crafted, it has to be bipartisan, bicameral. If not, the president can't sign and the government shuts down. So the bills that we fashion have bicameral and bipartisan support, and they're signed into law. It's not a directive, it's not a suggestion, it is the law of the land, which they are flagrantly violating every single day with the impoundment of funds.
Well, meanwhile, you've got, look, the power of the purse is an absolute power spelled out in the Constitution, as you rightly noted. And a lot of folks across the country hear this argument, and for them it's process. That's because they're not
You have it.
constitutional scholars and are not
Right.
locked in that way. I think, though, it does, behind that argument, which I think Democrats are now in a better position and over the last week have been better at articulating a more important argument to the American people.
The
And that's,
consequences.
what is this going to do to you?
That's right.
Right?
And
The consequences of all of this power grabbing by the White House, which we will stipulate goes back beyond this president, is really what's at the core here. When you're looking at $2.4 trillion added to the deficit, 10.9 million increase in the number of people without health insurance by 2034.
It's almost 15 million people.
That's right, 4.2 million people to lose coverage from expiring ACA tax credits, as we noted coming in. I find it interesting that the White House is saying now, oh, wait a minute, no. We're not cutting Medicaid. No. We're just going to cut Medicaid to those folks who don't deserve it.
And do you know Medicaid?
Who gets to decide that?
39% of the children in the United States get their health care through Medicaid.
Yeah.
I had a gentleman on the other side of the aisle say today that there were people who are over income who are getting the benefits of Medicaid. Medicaid is about children, it's about the disabled, it's about low-wage workers, and it's about seniors. And they're going to cut Medicaid, and given where they're going with the deficit, a story yet to be told is that when the deficit increases, then it triggers something called sequestration. That means cuts across the board, and it means Medicare, maybe $500 billion in cuts to Medicare. And they've stood up and said, we're not cutting Medicare, and that is baloney. They will be doing that. You are right, Michael. Let me just say this. The important issue is the consequences. And that is what is, we put together some information to look at what money has been frozen, what programs have been canceled. It's a tracker, which we keep updating. It's now $425 billion that they are stealing from the American public. And that has to do with education, it has to do with housing, it has to do with health care. So we're not going to make America healthy again. It's scientific research. I'm a cancer survivor. I'm alive because of the grace of God and biomedical research. And people have now been yanked out of clinical trials because the money isn't there. It's public safety, taking money from law enforcement. You may have heard Kash Patel at the FBI saying he didn't have enough money. Then he went back and they called him up and said, you can't do this. The next day he said, I can live with what they've done. You know, the cut or eliminating FEMA and what happens to people. Going after what they've done in the rescission packages, PBS, NPR.
Which, just to put rescission package in simple terms for people, it means you have already appropriated this money.
That's right.
You have said this money goes to this.
Right.
And now they are trying to do backsies on it. Rescission packages have never actually succeeded in the House of Representatives because why, after you have casted this vote? But I wonder from you, do you think Republicans are going to do Donald Trump's bidding and allow him to take back money that you have already appropriated?
It's actually a very, very good question. But look, there's the Impoundment Control Act, which says you cannot steal the money, you can't impound it. But they said what you could do, they gave you an out to say you could determine, the president could say, we want to rescind this, we want to rescind that, we get that, and it's a 45-day period, and if they come to no conclusion, then they have to spend the money. But they can't. They say that the Impoundment Control Act is unconstitutional, but they're using the mechanism. It's a kind of a CYA thing to say they're using this mechanism to deal with this. But they never had the authority to cut those programs on those benefits and those services for the American public at the outset, at the get-go. They have no authority to do it, and the consequences, Michael, are devastating. Devastating to families. And, you know, people are going to begin to feel that. That's when this makes a turn. That's when it makes a turn. But my Republican colleagues, I listened to people this afternoon. I've been prone to say that, okay, many are scared because of a primary. But I sat and listened to people today that believe it.
Yeah, they're not scared.
They
This is core.
believe.
They believe
This is core.
They believe
This
it.
is core.
Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for following this. Thank you. I love you. It's
And
great.
up next, can you believe it? There is more uncertainty for businesses thanks to a new round of Trump tariffs. NBC's Jacob Sobroff is standing by to explain the incoming pain. And then Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's going to join the conversation.